Hello, my fellow devastated poets. Welcome to the tiny home that is this YouTube video. Today I'm going to be talking all about chapbooks. So basically, what is a chapbook, what goes into it, and how you get one published. This is a question I get a lot in my Instagram inbox because I put out a chapbook last year in April to commemorate Earth Day. So the title of my chapbook is The World is Ending, Say Something That Will Last. It's 22 poems to kind of commemorate that Earth Day is on the 22nd, and it kind of covers our complex and shitty and ridiculous and loving and abusive relationship with our planet. So I put it out with Bottle Cap Press, and I have been selling pretty good amount of copies. I should check in the exact amount because that would be great to share, but it's been going really well, and I think it's been a great way to kind of get my words out there, and I would love to share on how you can do the same. So basically, what is a chapbook? Chapbooks are basically mini poetry books, where poetry books are 50 to 90 pages. Poetry chapbooks are usually on a smaller scale of 20 to 48 pages. They're a great way to get your name and work out there before you have a full collection in order. They usually have an underlying theme that connects the poems. I think that's where a lot of confusion kind of starts. People I have 20 poems that I love, I adore them, and they kind of just smush them together and say, okay, that's my poetry chapbook. But a lot of the times what makes a more successful chapbook is to kind of have an underlying theme. Like for mine, it was how badly we treat the planet and how beautiful it is. Yours can be about anything. It can be about donuts or dogs or the outside, basically anything that you like. But having these kind of themes running throughout is kind of what separates chapbooks from just a series of random poems. The good thing is that most of the time poets naturally kind of gravitate to certain things. So like if you write about the sun a lot and you find you have 3 or 4 poems about the sun, maybe your first poetry chapbook is something about the sun. Or if you write about the sun and the moon, you can write about both of them. So kind of just finding your theme and then bringing that into the chapbook is usually something that we see. So your manuscript, or basically your chapbook in its raw form, in your Google Docs or your words or your pages, should always include obviously a title. You need to call it something. Sometimes that can be the hardest part. I had like 15 different names for mine, and I would just type out any possible title that it could be, and finally came across this one. I personally really hate poetry. I don't hate, but they kind of make me cringe is when poetry titles are in all caps. It almost feels like they're screaming at you. So I always try to do mine like capital case, but obviously that's a preference. And then I know mine is like 17 words long for a title, but most of the time the shorter title the better. Something that's kind of punchy and grabs attention just from a like editor standpoint. But really your title, as long as it has a title, you can title it anything. Usually the first page I put the title and my name. And then your second page should always be your table of contents. So I can show you mine here. Here's my title page. And then here is my table of contents. So basically this is a complete selection of your poems. My first poem in this collection is called An Explanation, and my last poem is called 22 Things to Do When the World is Ending. So your table of contents is usually numbered to show how many poems you have, and then you also always need to have a page count going, so people can easily read and find, save their spot, and refer back to your poems. So always add your page numbers in there. I forget those a lot, so that's a good little tidbit to add. So I've said that chapbooks need to be cohesive, right? They need to flow. They can't just be 20 random poems. And of course, things like the sun and the moon, underlying kind of rivers or currents of themes in your chapbook will help you achieve that. But another great way to do that is to have repetitive poems, so that when the reader is reading, they can be anchored to something. So my kind of repeating poem is called Nature Documentary, episode 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So that's kind of something that anchors my reader. Every 3 or 4 poems, they're seeing kind of the same riff of the same title. So they feel like anchored in it, and it kind of helps build that theme and build that flow. You know, content can be whatever you want it to be, of course. While you need a title and you need a table of contents, whatever goes after that is your creative interpretation. So it could be poems, it could be short fiction, it can be images, it could be blackout poems. The options are endless. And then basically the only thing you need at the end is your acknowledgements page or your prior publications page. So you need something that says, this poem has been published here, this poem has been published here. So it's kind of just a quick look at that. So I had 3 previously published poems, and I noted that in the end of the book. So those are kind of the basics of what your chapbook actually needs. And again, many people who publish chapbooks won't publish after a certain number of pages. So usually what I've seen, the cutoff is 48. So if you're writing a poetry collection and you're on page 52, if you want it to come out as a chapbook and not a poetry debut, you're gonna have to go back and either cut a few poems or write a few more poems and have it be a full collection, in my experience. If you're self-publishing, then you can do whatever you want and call it whatever you want, because no rules apply to you. Good job. But there's a lot of downsides for self-publishing too, so maybe I'll get into that in a different video. So the last thing I want to cover is how I personally got my chapbook published. So obviously the first thing to do is to have a clear idea. Like I've been kind of pushing and talking on the whole time, is you need something that creates a collection out of your poems. So don't just create a bunch of random poems, string them together in pages and say, that's my collection. Woo! You have to be very cognizant and intentional about the way that your poems flow to tell a story. So people, I feel like there's a lot of separation between fiction and poetry just in the literary world, but really poems are also telling a story. Whether that story is jumbled and experimental or rhyming or with a certain format, there's always a story behind your poems, and try to find what that story is and create a collection from it. So I always start in pages, and once I have that idea, I kind of build poems around that idea, and then the next thing to do is kind of let it marinate. So I always say I have to let this poem marinate, because I think things are done and I come back a week later and I say, oh, this poem can be changed in so many ways and improved upon. So the second way that I kind of got my collection ready is to go do something else. Go outside, go work on a different project. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Let it grow. It's like a little herb in your herb garden. You can't like keep watering it every second. Sometimes you just have to let the sunshine do its work. So leave it alone. And in the meantime, something else you can do while you're kind of perfecting your work is find the publishers and the presses that you think you are a good fit for. So this is like a complex process, I can't lie. There's so many different presses out there, good and bad. The number one rule to submitting and publishing your stuff anywhere is presses may charge you a submission fee, a reading fee, anywhere from like $15 to $30, but they will never charge you to publish your work. If someone signs you on and signs a contract to publish anything, and they want you to pay like $100, $300, whatever they want you to pay to publish your work, that is a scam. Don't trust them, please. The role of the presses and the publishers is to help you sell your work, and that's why they get 15%, 30%, whatever the deal is. They get paid based off how many books you sell. So they should never be getting paid beforehand. And if they want you to pay them for editing services or anything else, that is a huge red flag that this is either a press that is a scam or a self-publishing press masked as an actual press. So a lot of it is up to you, like the route you want to go, but I always say that's the number one flag, red flag. Don't do it if someone wants to charge you. Besides that, obviously look out for Submittable. That's like the main go-to to submit places. Start following magazines that you like, presses that you like on places like Instagram and Twitter. They will post about when they have open submissions and when you can submit your work. That's a great way to be more connected overall in the literary world. A lot of it is digital, especially in this day and age. And the more accounts that you can follow, the better chance you have of knowing when their submissions are open. And from there, you have two paths. So you can either do a competition, and competitions are usually a higher reading fee, so $15, $20, $30. And then a panel of judges will judge your work, and or a bunch of people's work. And the top one or two chapbooks will win. And will win usually a monetary prize and a publication contract. But those competitions are usually very, very competitive, and you have a low chance of getting published through them. I don't want to like cut your wings before you fly, but just in my experience, it's a lot harder to be that top person in a competition if you just think about it as a game of numbers. So if you're kind of itching to get something out beforehand and you don't want to kind of play the long game of like competitions, you can look for open calls, open submission calls. And this is for larger presses usually, or presses who publish outside of competitions, and that allows you to just submit your work, oftentimes for free, and they publish the ones that they find could further their press or make them money or that they believe in. So that's a way to kind of be in the top like 10 people getting published instead of the top like one. Specifically on the place that I publish, which is Bottle Cap Press. This is a really great press, I think, for people who are just getting started. They have a really high approval rate, but everyone has different kind of personal wishes for what they want to like publish. So some people, some poets, it's really important for them to go like a straight and narrow kind of prestigious traditional route, and they want to get published with a really famous press or one that's like highly respected or through a university, and that's totally fine, of course. But the kind of give for that is time. There's a lot of like gatekeeping, there's a lot of things you have to do, there's a lot of like low percentage rates, there's a lot of, I've submitted to like 20 different places and had to pay all these fees, and now I wait 6 months and might not get accepted at any of them. So when you're starting, especially if you have your first collection, if you go somewhere that's a little bit more humble and down to earth and publishing more authors, it's a great way to get started and have a product that you can share with people. So basically finding Bottle Cap Press and submitting my work there, I was accepted within like a month, and then had my chapbook created and sent out to me within the next 2 months. So by that summer, I could give readings. I sold like 40 copies to just friends, families, people at the bookshop that I've never met before, but who heard my poems and liked it. And that was like a really exciting experience. So I think if you're willing to kind of go for a smaller press, especially for your chapbook, which isn't even like your debut, I think there is the positive of having something quickly and having something to share, and having something that, you know, is tangible, is something you can hold. And that being said, the prestigious traditional route isn't for every writer. Overall, like, not everybody wants to be, you know, the Booker Prize winning MFA professor. You know, some people just want to share their work, create work, and this is another great way to do that, with lower stakes, lower spending. Like with Bottle Cap Press, their submissions are open 24/7. There's no fee. There's no fee to create your chapbook. There's no fee to edit your chapbook. There's no fee for any of that. So it's something that's completely free, and then the only thing you pay for is copies of your chapbook to resell. So it's really an accessible way to see your art come to life too. So yeah, this video was not, what did they say, like sponsored by them, but I do think that, just my honest opinion is I'm pretty happy about my chapbook experience with them. That being said, I think that because I publish a lot of chapbooks, there's a lot of competition for like what chapbooks are being bought. There's less intense marketing of your chapbook or one-on-one time, and I would be really careful about your editing. I'm not a great editor, so I had to be really like careful and read my editing, because it was like kind of a fast pace of, okay, let's put out the next chapbook, let's put out the next chapbook, and I found that there was spelling mistakes or commas in weird places. So when you're doing kind of a smaller press, or more like a press that handles a lot of little books, I feel like you have to take on more of the role of editor and publicizer, to get your own work out there, but that's kind of good for your future as an author, in the first place. So that kind of sums it up. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me here in the comments, or come hang out on my Instagram. I do poetry games, I share poems, and I will answer any questions that you have. Okay, thanks for stopping by.